You're listening to For Real Radio with Briah, Julia, Kayla, and Michael on Radio.org, the sound of Hudson County Schools of Technology in North Bergen, New Jersey. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to For Real Radio, a place for the truth. Now, today we do have a very special segment. One that everyone should be interested in because it does directly involve everyone living in the United States. Today we're going to talk about the sequester. Probably a term that you've heard. If you're under the age of 18, probably not. But what it is there will be, on Friday, mandatory federal budget cuts. That is the most basic definition of what will happen. There will be budget cuts starting Friday. Federal jobs will be affected. Jobs such as policemen, firefighters, EMTs, nurses, doctors. All of these people's jobs will be at risk. So,
it's kind of scary, but it is going to happen. Unless Congress and President Obama get together and iron something out. Right.
And which we know, if you have kept up with politics in the past year or so, that is nearly impossible. But let's talk about where this came from, this sequester. See, back in 2011, Congress and the President met, and they said, okay, we want to reduce the country's deficit or spending, the country's spending, by $4 trillion. We have until this date, in this case it is March 1st, 2013, we have until that date to do so, or else this catastrophic event will happen. In this case, it's these federal budget cuts. Now, really, that event was just put in place to scare Congress and the President into making these necessary deficit reductions. But guess what? They haven't come to an agreement yet, and this really hypothetical catastrophe is about to happen on Friday.
It's going to become a reality.
It will become a reality, and it will affect everyone's lives. It will. There is no doubt to it. If you take a plane, if you eat food, if you need medical attention, you will be affected. If you are a human being, even an animal, because vets will be affected too, you will feel the burden of these cuts. So let's talk about this at a national level. Kayla, tell us some of these ways these cuts are going to affect our country as a whole.
All right. You're on. Okay. One of the many things it'll affect is education, of course. Our ability to teach our kids the skills they'll need for the jobs of the future would be put at risk. 70,000 young children will lose access to Head Start. 10,000 teacher jobs would be put at risk, and funding for up to 7,200 special education teachers, aides, and staff could be cut. Another thing is FBI and law enforcement and other law enforcement. The FBI and other law enforcement would see a reduction in capacity equivalent to more than 1,000 federal agents. The loss of agents would significantly impact our ability to combat violent crime, pursue financial crimes, and secure borders and national security. So that would affect us a lot if we have, no security. Yeah. And emergency responders. FEMA would need to reduce funding for state and local grants that support firefighter positions and state and local emergency management personnel, hampering our ability to respond to natural disasters like Hurricane Sandy and other emergencies. So
New Jersey could see a reduction of funds from Sandy. We're expecting $60 billion. We could get a lot less than that.
Yeah. So in events that may happen in the future,
Right.
like Sandy, another storm,
Right.
we would see less help.
There would be less help. Yeah,
More tragedy, less help.
Right. Now imagine, because while we are, New Jersey is still waiting for some money as a result of Sandy. FEMA did already do a lot. Funding hotels for people who lost their homes, things like that. Imagine if these cuts were in effect while Sandy happened. These people would be left alone. They wouldn't have the support they need to live. It's and when we talk about this, it's about living. We're not even at the part where we're talking about quality of life. We are talking about
basic human services.
Basic human services to live. And then of course we are also talking about quality of life. We are talking about education. 10,000 teachers' jobs will be at risk if this goes through on Friday. 10,000 teachers' jobs. 70,000 young children. And I don't know, have any of you girls gone to preschool?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You went to preschool, right?
Mm-hmm.
70,000 children won't have access to preschool.
Yikes.
So they'll be home.
So my nephew won't have access.
He could fall under that. He really could. He could fall under that.
So would they just throw them out of the school, the little?
They'd stay home alone.
No, but
well, there'd be no staff to be there, so you couldn't send them there.
It wouldn't.
So they would just close down the whole school.
Right.
Right. Because they wouldn't have enough funding to keep it open. We're talking about law enforcement. That's pretty self-explanatory. The less law enforcement,
more crime.
The more crime. We're talking about FBI agents. Obviously, we have Border Patrol, which would affect immigration. Immigration is an issue as it is. Imagine what this would do to it even more. You would have less men patrolling the border, more illegals coming in. It's simple. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to realize what's going to happen. We're looking at FDA restrictions. People will be at risk for more foodborne illnesses, E. coli, salmonella, like we had in the past with peanut butter. We're talking about everyday services that play a huge role in your life.
And homeless people, over 100,000 of them, including veterans, could be removed from their current housing and emergency shelter program.
Right. The vets, people who served our country, who put in their time, risked their lives, won't be getting the services they deserve. Now, think of this, right? You have a fire. Imagine there's a small fire, God forbid, in your home. Mm-hmm. Now you call 911 and expect that someone will send a firefighter, right? Mm-hmm. Not saying that when you call, they're not going to say, "Oh, sorry, we ran out." They won't. That won't happen. But you could wait longer. Wait for other firefighters coming from other jobs to respond to your home, because there just won't be enough. People will be affected by this, and it will change your lives, not for the better. Now that's at a very national level. Let's really zoom in and talk about our home. Let's talk about Jersey. What will happen to Jersey, Julia?
Work-study jobs. Around 1,480 fewer low-income students in New Jersey would receive aid to help them finance the cost of college, and around 650 fewer students will get work-study jobs that help them pay for college.
Right. Yeah, that's one thing right there.
Again, Head Start would be affected in Jersey.
Yeah.
Vaccines for children. In New Jersey, around 3,930 fewer children will receive vaccines for diseases such as measles, mumps, rubella, tetanus, whooping cough, influenza, and hepatitis B due to reduced funding for vaccinations, about $268,000.
Right.
and Stop Violence Against Women program, New Jersey would lose up to $187,000 in funds that provide services to victims of domestic violence, resulting in 700 fewer victims being served.
So let's break that down. Just those 3 points, right there.
Out of like a bunch.
Right. Guys, we are not naming all of the ways that the country and our state will be affected. We just picked 3. But let's just break these 3 down, okay? You said vaccinations for children, right? I'm sure you all were vaccinated as babies, right?
Yeah.
You know, chickenpox, rubella, whooping cough, hepatitis. You probably don't remember it, but you were. Now these, when you're an infant, obviously your immune system is not good. So these babies, without these vaccinations, they're not just at risk for getting sick, they're at risk of losing their lives. This is what happens when people don't get along in politics. People get hurt. Now let's talk about what you also mentioned, college, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure we plan on going to college.
Yep.
All of us. And if you think that you can pay for it all on your own, then you're out of your mind. There are not a large group of citizens who are able to fund their entire college experience alone. What you do is you take out loans, student loans, grants, get tuition. Guess what, guys? These cuts would just cut that down.
So you wouldn't get as much funding for
Right.
college.
And you have to pay more?
You wouldn't get as much funding for college.
That sucks.
You'd just go into more debt.
Oh,
Or you wouldn't
great.
be able to go to that college. So there goes your education. If you're noticing something, doesn't it seem kind of counterproductive? You wouldn't be able to have as much education. You would go into more debt. Doesn't that seem like this would just be stupid?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem smart at all. You know, it's a very drastic fix to a long-term problem. You know, we need to stop this. Congress needs to realize that people are getting hurt.
And excuse me, Michael, if you noticed yesterday, the Dow Industrial Average, the stock market was down over 200 points.
Right.
Which tells you that the economy is in for a rocky road if this is not passed. The economy is going to suffer, the middle class is going to suffer, and the whole country is going to suffer, and you can see the different ways that's going to happen.
Do you think we could get into like another like depression or something or anything like?
Yeah, I really do.
Oops.
Now, the government will never again call that economic state, you know, the one we had in the 30s. They will never say again that the country is in a depression, ever. I will tell you that right now.
You'll just see it happen?
They'll say we're in a deep recession,
Uh-huh.
but they will never say depression because that would cause panic, and we don't want a repeat of what happened in the past. But I think you can see a recession. I really do. Because when you take away all these jobs at once...
Didn't we just get out of one?
Yeah.
Like recently?
Yes.
I hated, oh my God.
Right, and now you're starting to see the cycle. What are we doing?
I hated it.
Why would we put ourselves in jeopardy going backwards? Why would we do that? You know, you take away jobs real quick, unemployment goes sky high, which is what determines a recession, a depression. Really, it's about the percentage of people with jobs, without jobs. So obviously you would take away more jobs. You said, and this is ridiculous, Stop the Violence Against Women program would be cut. How could you cut funding or even know that you're cutting funding from programs that would stop domestic disputes, that could help prevent domestic disputes, any kind of dispute? This is a very specific case, but how could you do that? How could you be a part of Congress and know that you're potentially letting, or will let more people get injured, die?
That's something I don't understand. Like, they're allowing it to happen. Like, they know the consequences, but they're gonna keep going with whatever.
Right. Makes them
goes
seem
on.
kind of selfish, huh?
Yeah.
Right. So we need, as of now, the country has reduced its deficit by $2.5 trillion. We're halfway there. You remember I said 4.
Mhm.
So we're halfway there. The president has proposed a plan, and that is to get rid of these loopholes for the very, very, very wealthy class. Which would have them pay their fair share of taxes.
Mhm.
Which they should.
Which they should, right? We all agree on that.
Yeah.
We all pay our fair share.
Yep.
Out of my paycheck.
Yeah, right out of your paycheck, you look at it, it's up there.
Oh my God.
So Congress said, okay, sure. You could reduce these loopholes if you take away the fiscal cliff deal and give the rich less taxes. So, well, let's sum that up again. Obama says, let's close the loopholes that the rich are using to not pay enough taxes. Congress said, sure, but only if you take away the taxes that you put into place in January. Now, of course, that just cancels everything out. Of course, Obama didn't agree with that. So this is the problem. If we don't reach this agreement on Friday, which I don't think we're going to do, because we don't have a Congress right now that is selfless. We have a Congress right now that is selfish.
Yep.
The House. I think we're going to feel these effects very soon.
Oh boy.
And what can you do? Call your congressman. Do it. Just call him up. Go on to the White House website. Take a look at the president's plan. Take a look at how your state will be affected. Because these changes are coming, and they're coming soon. Just a few days. Anything else, guys?
If anybody has, not so much our congressman in New Jersey all voting for Obama, but if you have friends or relatives in southern states or states that are pretty Republican, call somebody up, tell them to call their congressman, say in places like Texas and South Carolina and Alabama, Louisiana. Those are the congressmen that is going to hold this up. They're the ones that need to be contacted.
Right. So unfortunately, this doesn't look good. And I hope, though I don't think it'll happen, I hope that Congress and the President will reach an agreement by Friday. And if they don't, then I want to say good luck to the rest of the nation.
You just put me in like the
Real.
biggest depression.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. This is For Real Radio at WHITradio.org.
You just listened to For Real Radio on WHITradio.org.
At Hudson County Schools of Technology.
Northburg and New Jersey, have a great day.